Hey, this is Ginger, and this is Ginger's Chat Show. And I hope you're all well. I got much better sleep last night. As of the other day, Loki started his cancer treatment, and he's on Prednisone. And what it is a steroid that helps relieve the symptoms and everything that he's receiving. He's doing very well with it. Um, he's getting a lot more pep. He's starting to gain back, and he's eating better. Um, and then he's starting to communicate more by letting me know that, hey, I'm out of water, I'm out of kibbles. He's hungry, and he bosses me when to wake up and when to go to bed. um, he's a good boy, and he does take his naps. He does go out in the middle of the night. He does, since cats are normally nocturnal, he does look outside in the middle of the night to see what's going on. Cats can see it better at night, better than I do. Anyway, he's doing better. He's doing well. Now today I'm doing what they call winging. I'm starting a thing called Winging It Wednesdays, where I don't have to go by my production notes or anything. I just go by my memory, what I read, what I heard. As you know, Trump with all his antics that's going on, he lost the court case regarding the data on the appropriations, the money that's being used, where it's going to, and transparency. There is a federal law about that. Federal law states that they have to, any presidential administration have to show transparency where the money's going. And he was forced, and the DOJ was forced to follow the law. They could get into big trouble if they don't. And DOJ was told by the judge that you better straighten up and fly right and follow the law. That's what it's there for. That's what it's established for. And the website's back up. The lawsuit that was filed was by two nonprofit groups that it's sort of like a watchdog. They're nonpartisan, but they watch whatever happens in the government and its actions and everything. Well, they won the lawsuit, and the judge ruled in their favor, and Taco Donnie is put in his place. Now, I wish Congress would just start doing their thing by doing the impeachment process and set it up so where the whole cabinet is gone and a new president is appointed. And or the other option is to do a snapshot election. This is what I mentioned the other day, and I'm going to keep pushing that. We need to make our election seasons shorter. Okay, like 3 months, and that's it. Like 1 month for campaigning, then of course, the delegates and everything. But this time, go by popular vote. Don't go by the electoral college. Cut that out. Even though it will remain on the Constitution, just don't use it. There's nothing wrong in not using it. I'd rather go by the popular vote. I think that's more accurate than the electoral college. Because right now, California is changing its redistricting, and Texas now, Abbott's got into trouble on redistricting and the what their legislature is doing against the representatives and senators and everything else, that is stupid. That is wrong. And you don't keep a person, Representative Collier of Texas, uh, locked in the chambers. You know what that is? That's false imprisonment. That's a federal offense. So you know what? I think the Sergeant Arms should be in jail for that, and so should Abbott. That's false imprisonment. You just don't do that. Okay? And I think they need to rethink their gerrymandering issue. I think they really need to rethink that. Okay? They need to stop being discriminatory against those in black communities and Latino communities and everything else. Stop the discrimination crap. Okay? And this should be done all over. Up here in Washington, we're really lucky. We accept everybody and everything. Even some of the GOP Secretary of State and everything else, he follows the law. And he wants everything done right, just like our predecessors of that office wants it done right. And with all the problems that we're having right now, besides that, everything affects everybody and everything. It really does. It's interconnected together. Right now, we got Hurricane Erin to deal with. Right now, there is what they call a wide wind band because the storm is pretty big, and it's going up the eastern seaboard coast. Well, it's causing a lot of windstorms for the interior. And flooding. I need to check the weather report, but check with NOAA, check with the National Weather Service because they will put out the news for it. Okay. And those on the eastern seaboard, please watch yourselves. Be sure you're prepared. Follow the instructions of the officials if there is going to be intense flooding. Keep an eye on the sky for tornadoes, which may or may not occur, but sometimes that happens from a hurricane. So, again, keep an eye on the sky. Now, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. There is a cargo ship by the name of MS Sapphire. Well, they were pulling out of Baltimore Harbor, and they were heading to, I think, Armenia with a load of refined coal, which is called coke coal. Very refined. Well, when you carry that a large amount in a cargo ship, there's a thing called methane gas that builds up in there. And those poor guys. Luckily, there was no damage to the ship, but there was a methane gas explosion. There was some damage to the cargo hold. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But I don't know if it went on to Armenia or not, but they pulled into a dock, and the Coast Guard and everything is inspecting it and determine whether the ship should go on. So far, there doesn't seem to be any damage to the ship, but they're just checking it over just to make sure. I felt sorry for the captain. When that happened, I bet it scared everybody half out of their wits when that thing went kaboom. That seemed to be a problem when carrying coal. it builds up inside the cargo ship because it really has the methane gas has nowhere to go. Now, coal trains, they do it differently. They have coal, but they put protective netting or put netting over it so the coal doesn't go flying out or fall out or anything. Protective netting, but there is air, and so it just releases into the air, and they don't have the explosive issues like they do on a cargo ship. Um, Too bad there's not a way of. There's got to be a little bit better technology for that uh, to solve that problem and that issue, so they don't have methane gas explosions. Um, find ways, some way of air, letting the gas air out, leak out, and just keep the levels low, and they could go on to their destination and load it. Get it unloaded. Um, but they did. The company did have to. They contacted Armenia and let them know there's going to be like a 1 or 2 day delay because of this. Um, so I would imagine Armenia is going, oh my. Okay, well, hey, we'll patiently wait for it, you know. Um, like in anything, when you transport or import or export anything, there's always a danger. Okay. You got container ships full of items. There's always a danger in that. And especially when you put it on a container ship and it's a little bit overloaded. That's happened too. They've lost loads that way. And they need to reduce or put a restriction on how many containers, boxes they could put on those ships. That's what they really should. What they really should do, so you don't have the top heavy issues with a ship. Because the Atlantic could get pretty rough, especially during when it's stormy. Same way in the Pacific side of the ocean. Um, there's more intense storms on the Atlantic side than is on the Pacific side. Oh, once in a while you would have like a hurricane, in the Pacific that happens, or what they call on the east, on that side, west side, is typhoons, especially right around Japan, some of the other uh, islands and everything in the Pacific Islands region. Uh, then, of course, you have on the eastern side, you have the hurricanes. Now, Hurricane Aaron was the first hurricane of the season. It's hurricane season started June 1st, so she's kind of running. The hurricane season is kind of running a little late. Um, and then, of course, you have the what's the other term you use? A lot of things happening atmosphere to steer the storms and everything, and that's why in many ways the East Coast has, let's say, avoided the bullet. Okay. um, they were lucky. East Coast was lucky on this one, because if it did go straight into, let's say, Florida, heaven forbid, um, they were very lucky. So, anyway, since it's 15 minutes is up, let me check my calendar real quick. Hold on a minute. see, for some reason the thing is not working very well. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see. Let me check my calendar. Calendar. I will see you on Friday at 1 o'clock. And, stay safe, keep an eye on the sky, put ice on it in its place. Tell those masked idiots to back off and leave people alone. Period. Or they're going to be picking on the wrong group of people. They say, well, that's threatening federal agents. Well, they're not really federal agents, because federal agents don't put masks on, and they don't have a lack of identification. They don't do that. They put ID there, and they're supposed to identify themselves. Okay? And they have to follow federal law, too. And if they don't, then they should be back in jail. 3/4 of those ICE agents, a good majority of them, were the ones that were released from jail after January 6th by Trump. He released them. And in turn, Nome turned around and hired them as ICE. Well, they're not even trained, okay? They're just acting like a bunch of little bratty bullies and going after people and not checking information or anything else. And they've been pushed back by the population. Population goes, no, you don't do that. And I think now the police departments and the state police should round those guys up and put them in jail for breaking the law. And that's what they should be doing. We need to push back on that. And also in the next year's midterms, and I do hope that the Democrats will win, sweep out the GOP, and that some independents get in there and start the process of giving old Taco Donnie the boot. Kick him out of office, him and his whole cabinet, and get a proper president in place. Okay? Vance should not be president. I've heard him. The guy's not very smart. He's like Trump. He doesn't learn anything. So anyway, I will see you guys on Friday. Take care. And I love you all. Be sure to like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. This video will go on my YouTube channel. And I need more subscribers. So feel free to share. Anything else? Nope, I can't think of anything. Okay, I will talk to you later. Love you guys. Bye-bye.